This is episode 8.
Oh, never mind.
I hope everybody heard that. I'm putting a smile on my face because I'm trying to trick myself into being happy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
I'm in a mood because, so for those who don't know, I'm been working on a production of Rent with the community theater here. And we just had our first 3 shows this weekend, and Rent is a sad show. It's not a happy show. It's not the feel good show of the summer. So I've had and I've been working on it for the last 10 days, and then had 3 shows. So I had Rent 10 days in a row, and then this. I'm feeling a lot of emotional weight built up right now, and this show just.
How's your heart, buddy? How's your heart?
Ooh. This is why I need to. This is why I take blood pressure meds, kids. Because, man, this was an adrenaline shot. This was. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I know it's TVMA on HBO Max, but I'm kind of surprised there wasn't a content warning at the beginning of this.
Right, I was just like, trigger warning.
Yeah,
trigger warning.
Hey guys, this shit's fucked. This episode, like all the other episodes, this episode's fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing about it because it's so fucked up. Like, I'm not trying to make light of it, but it's like, if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry.
And then both you and I, who we're not very religious people, I still believe in God, you do not. Both of us were like, this episode, Mike, how do we talk about this episode without being assholes?
Mike, why are you an atheist? This is why. Like, it's like stuff like this. But again, that's just me. You know, you believe what you want to believe. It's don't be. I did a video in college called "The Atheist Guide to Getting into Heaven." It's 1 step: don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Because then, if there is something,
hey, that worked in one movie.
Yeah. So this episode, I tweeted it and texted you immediately. Like, there's no way this was only 50 minutes. It felt like they got so much done. And I was like, oh man, this must have been like another hour 50. I looked at my phone and I was just like, it's not. Oh my God. Because I started right at 9 o'clock. I was blown away.
It was go, go, go. And you had just moments of just like, my heart was pumping. I was fearful for Ellie, even though she's a main character, and therefore I know she's gonna be okay. But you get fearful for her, go like in moments of like, yeah, she's gonna survive, but how is she going to be at the end of this, like emotionally or physically? Because there's a moment there at the end, which is why I said trigger warning, because even for me, I was just like, I don't know, I don't like it.
No, I don't like it, Bobby. I don't like it. This one, you know, the show is called The Last of Us. It's not called The Last of the Zombie Apocalypse. It's about the end of the world. Yes, the zombie apocalypse was the inciting incident, but because we've seen some complaints about a couple episodes, like, oh, where's all the zombies at? The show isn't about zombies. It's about civilization and zombies, but civilization over the course. That's why we jumped 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's why we don't stick around for the beginning. It's like, no, this happened, and now this is just the new normal. And this episode's a test.
That could be a movie right there, just the beginning of the zombie apocalypse.
It has been.
Yes.
Many times. We've seen the zombie apocalypse start in about 1 million movies, and I don't think we've seen very many with post.
Right.
But this is an episode, it's like they didn't need zombies in this one, because at the end of the day, as we all know, the real monster is man. Like humans are the worst. We get it.
Yeah.
Man, this was a good one. This was so good.
So to start off, did you feel like any chilly watching this episode? Because like with me, I live in Miami, It is a warm place here. And I was like, ooh, like the cold on the screen made me cold because
So
and they even
being in
said
a
in the
go ahead, God, I'm sorry.
I was like, they even said in the post like episode, like when they're talking about it, they were saying, yeah, this was our coldest shoot. We shot in February in Calgary. And I was like, why would you do that?
Well, somebody who lives in Ohio, and more importantly, who grew up in Northeast Ohio in the 90s when like winters just looked like that. Like
Not for me.
I remember walking to the bus stop in 1.5 feet of snow and still going to school. Like,
No.
I mean, and like this particular winter here in Dayton hasn't been the coldest, but it has been the windiest. But and you'll remember because I told you guys about it at Christmas, we got slapped with a
Yeah.
blizzard, slapped. And I will say, like, it's a comfortable temperature today. I did find myself pulling the blanket on watching this episode because it was just triggering something in my brain. There's another trigger warning. It's going to make you feel chilly. I genuinely was like, I feel cold watching this.
Right. And I'm here in Florida where it's like 70 degrees right now.
Shut
up. But you also have the starting with a Bible verse, and I was like, ooh, it's gonna be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Ooh, we're gonna get guilty with this one.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, is this a religious cult? And then they have you play through the episode of is this guy a good guy or not? Because there's moments when you're like, oh, he's just a good Christian man. Like he's a real Christian. Like and then you're like, oh nope, fuck him. Nope, this is a cult.
Yeah, full-blown cult status.
Full-blown cult status. And you're like, yeah, it just takes this much. Much for
you get people desperate enough.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what I think this is a not that people who are religious are desperate, but when you put people in a desperate situation, they will follow someone like David.
Yeah.
No matter what, because they don't know what else to do.
Right. Because I was even putting like I posed the question in my notes going, what is it about humans that they will still turn to religion when the world ends?
I think it goes to get deep on this episode. I think it goes to like the idea of wanting like just needing an answer like
Yeah.
I want this to stop. It's a way to kind of just I think make peace with the idea of like what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's nothing. It's like, you know, what am I going to do about this? But if you change it to there's nothing I can do about this, it I guess would probably give you some peace of mind. I'm not, like I said, I that's the best I can come up with. I'm not religious. So
because like I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, like if the world is ending, you can see how religious people will turn away from religion. And then you're like, oh, well, then I can kind of see how non-religious people would turn to religion too. And so it's the human condition and the human mind and the decision on what God to follow or whether to follow a God always fascinates me.
Yeah. And it's always going to come down to situations that we're in. Ambling Soul comes on and said, I haven't seen it yet. We'll check back in later to avoid spoiler. Yeah, nothing you can really say about this without spoiling it. And it's, you know, not trying to jump ahead to the end, but you know, when we find out what exactly David's been doing, I think I told you before we got on live, like watching through it, it never once crossed my mind that they were eating people.
Right.
I was like, oh, they're just, what is it, venison? They're probably just tired of eating venison all the time. And you know, people acting weird. I thought it was just going to be about a religious cult. The also being cannibals just never crossed my mind because they hadn't given me anything to think that.
Yeah.
But once it's revealed that they're cannibals,
once you see that ear, I immediately went to it.
I went back to the whole episode and I was like, oh no, there were signs. I just didn't know it at the time.
Which is really funny that we just had to see the ear and be like, they're eating people.
Yeah,
Like,
all it took.
that's all it took.
And suddenly it was like I want to go back and rewatch this episode
Hmm.
now, knowing what I know, to see how it changes how I perceive like the way certain things are said
Yeah.
or
Oh,
shown.
we can't have a funeral. It's too cold to digs.
Exactly.
We'll have a funeral for him in the spring.
Yeah.
And just yeah, the way the meat looked was really weird. And then I was like, well, it is the apocalypse.
It's the apocalypse.
Because
And
I've had venison before, but it's been a very long time. And I was like, maybe that is how it looks. I don't know. Before it's cooked. I don't know.
I've had it, but like I've never handled it, like
Yeah.
fresh butchered or whatever.
Right. I've
Um,
had like I had friends who their dad hunt and they
yeah,
hunt some deer and then like they gave us some deer jerky and
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
fine.
Like,
It's good. It's delicious.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so when he said it was venison, I have no reason to think this is not.
Right.
Especially because we had just seen them out hunting and we
Right.
knew they had food of some kind. So again, it's a testament to the writing and the directing in this episode. It's like, yeah, no, at no point did they leave a single breadcrumb to suggest they were cannibals until they did. And then
Yeah.
it
And it
changed.
just took one breadcrumb. He didn't
Yeah,
have to say anything. Ellie didn't have to say anything. We just needed to see one ear on the ground and we're like, shit.
yeah.
Which just shows how great of a storytelling this episode was.
Because I was anticipating it taking a much, and this is a fucked up thing to say, but a much darker turn. I know, darker than cannibalism. I thought it was going to take it to like a much darker cult than I want to say out loud on YouTube here. So I'm very much glad it didn't go that route, but also where it landed is still unpleasant.
Yeah, very, very, very unpleasant. And to get to this character, David, which we learn. So, David was a teacher before the zombie apocalypse, and then he found God after the apocalypse. Now, I wonder in my head, did he really, or was that just a front? Because he seemed for real. And then when it got to the end, when he's just like, I'm a violent person, and this is you and I can lead together. I'm like, oh, is he just doing this for the status of being a cult leader? Like, and maybe he drank a little bit of his own Kool-Aid on the way there.
Yeah.
But
I think he's very much the high on his own supply.
right.
Like it was bullshit at the start, but now he's buying into it.
Right. And at first, when you see him trying to, because Ellie's locked up in that like cage thing,
Yeah.
and you see him trying to convince her at first, like, hey, I'm a good guy. He had really, this is gonna sound bad, but he had that like, I'm a nice guy. Why won't girls fuck me vibe? Like he had that.
Yeah, kind of.
By the end,
so nice to you. I'm being so nice to you. Why don't you want to come stay in my commune?
right? And so when it turned to the like, I want you to be my wife, even though it's because she's 14 in the show. Like, I think her actual age, Bella Ramsey, is 19. And then I literally went like Leo DiCaprio and his new girlfriend are like the same age difference. So that immediately went to my head. And I was just like, that is gross. You are a grown man. She is a child. And then but then you go, okay, this has happened with some like Christian and Catholic like things where they're going after the young children. And then so like I was having then that end where I'm not going to use the R word, but that almost happened.
That's what was in the cards. That's what was about to happen.
And the anxiety that gave me watching, and that's where I was like, trigger warning. This needed a trigger warning because I am not okay.
I have a feeling this is one of those they might go back and put that in because that's happened with shows in the past where they've gone back and added that.
Right.
Probably going to happen.
And not that I'm not willing to see that or watch that stuff, but it was one of those, and I think too, especially if any woman who has dealt with that to then like watch that and not know that you're about to watch that can be very, oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Or man too, because it can
yeah,
happen to men.
anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's kind of the direction I thought the episode was gonna take, was that it was gonna be like full blown like sister daughter wife cult status. You know, that's what I
Yeah.
thought they were setting me up for, and I'm still not convinced that's not entirely what was going on. But
Especially the way they were dressed, like some of them were very like Amish.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, I'm still not that. I still don't think that's completely out of the question as far as was happening. But the cannibalism was a turn. I was like, oh, thank God. like 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 oh, so it's not a sex cult, it's a cannibal cult. Better. Like, I don't know,
Maybe.
worse. They're both awful.
Yeah. They're both awful. But it's gonna sound bad. In a way, you can understand the cannibalism if there's like zero food. I wouldn't do it, but you can understand that to a point.
Desperation makes people do crazy things.
So in a way, it makes you feel better that it's that and not something worse.
The Donner Party happened, folks. That's all we can really say. But yeah, and we see that Joel is getting his strength back. Ellie did a good job taking care of Not Dad. And
although that's not where you put the
medicine.
medicine.
But no, it's not. But but you know what?
She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
She has no idea. And as educated guesses go, it's not a bad one. Like and I'm sure he is getting by, has nothing to do with those needle. I mean, not nothing, but it wasn't like he got the 2 shots and is off. I think he is struggling hard, but
the amount of belief too that she has in him, like he is dying on the floor and she just hands him a knife. Is like, if anyone gets down here, fucking murder them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go do this. Somebody comes in, and he found the strength.
Yeah.
But again,
when it turns to that bed and he's not in it, I'm like, fuck him up, Joel.
I was like, this guy is going to die.
Did you feel a little like John Wickish? Like
little bit.
This is justified. This is justified.
A little bit. This is Schwarzenegger in Commando. Like you messed with his girl. Like you messed with his not daughter. We don't have that. But when he gets to her at the end and he brings her in, he doesn't call her Ellie. He calls her baby girl, because that's what he was calling Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
He died when he was holding her.
It's okay, baby girl. I got you.
Yeah.
I cried. I legitimately, tears down my eyes. Like they weren't even just thug tears, like a little thug tear. It was tears.
I've had to sit through 10 nights of Angel's funeral from Rent. I've no more tears to give. I've cried so many times in that I'll Cover You reprise. But yeah, it's exactly what he said to Sarah when she died in his arms. And I was just like, oh, especially after last episode, he got his brother back and he had that moment during his panic attack where he saw this woman in the crowd who looked like his daughter. It's like, and having to finally admit to this connection he clearly has with Ellie.
Yeah. But both Ellie and Joel are changed for the rest of their lives, because what Ellie had to do, which was completely justified, but that was a murderous rage that happened, which same girl, I would be in the same boat. And so that is 100% changing Ellie going forward. And then the fact too that Joel fully accepts Ellie as his daughter. You worry how terrified he is when she's not there when he wakes up.
We got to see some of the old Joel today. The Joel that was telling Ellie like I'm not a good person for the things I've done. The things that Tommy's new wife hates Joel for, we got to see some of that today
Yeah.
because he mob tortured those guys. Like that's some shit from The Godfather.
Yeah, and you get a little bit of from a callback to the previous episode when he's with that sweet older couple that's in the they were there before the zombie apocalypse. Don't bother me. I'm old. I'm gonna go hunt my rabbit and then hang out with my wife. Leave me the fuck alone.
Who hates
Love the
me and doesn't want to be here, but now she's stuck here.
You're right, exactly. I was just like, why are you guys my favorite characters in this
every
show?
every every reaction channel I have watched in the last week has said the exact same thing, which was that she was the best. They're like, why is she my favorite?
Right.
You
But
made them soup, it's cold.
the fact that like and you know for a fact that she loves her husband too, even if he
Yes.
gives but goes, where are we if it's not the same place you point your wife told me we're gonna
Mhm.
have some issues. We got a little callback where like I think as a viewer you knew that he wasn't gonna do anything to these sweet old like couple.
He had no
He
desire.
fucking did something to these two. They look like what, twin brothers? They look
I
very
something like
similar.
that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To these like two guys, like puts the friggin' thing in his mouth, the knife,
Uh-huh.
point where we are, and if it's not in the same place, and then stabs him anyways. It was just like, I'm not telling you shit. Goes, no, I believed him. So it literally was just like, nah, I killed him because I want to, and now
Yeah.
I'm about to fucking kill you too.
'Cause you hurt my baby girl. Yeah, he lead piped that. Woof. That was scary, Joel. And considering
Yeah.
we also just had the Mandalorian start up again as well. uh Pedro Pascal is just all about messing dudes up to protect the babies right now.
Don't mess with his kids.
Don't mess with his kids. Do
I
not
was
mess
like,
with his kids.
Is Pedro Pascal like an actual father in real life? Because he really does have that dad energy.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think he
so.
is,
I don't think he
but
has kids.
the second he ever has a child, I know
Like
he's in his 50s, but it's still viable for men.
like imagine he has a daughter and she brings home her first boyfriend and he's like, "Do you want to know what I would do to anybody that messes with my kid, son? Let's go to the videotape."
Right?
That's what I did for the people pretending to be my kids.
Right, exactly, exactly. And I love to, because this episode could have very much had he comes back to his full strength, he lead pipe that guy he's murdering.
Yeah,
He could have very much went in and been the savior of this episode, the one who
yeah.
kills David. I love that it was Ellie.
Mhm.
That it was Ellie who was in that mess and she got herself out of that mess, even though it's gonna fuck her up.
Mhm.
It's really gonna fuck her up going forward. But I loved that even though she loves Joel and needs Joel and kind of like is always like, what the fuck am I gonna do without you? A few episodes past. Um, that she could survive on her own without him.
Mhm. She absolutely could because they've spent so much time together, because again, 3 months have passed since
Mhm,
before last episode. He's been teaching her a lot, and we know that
mhm.
on that long ride down to the university, he was teaching her stuff then too when they were shooting the asshole
She
dummy.
learned about American football.
It's an important lesson, I guess. I don't really like football. It's fine. But but he's always teaching her things, even when he was mad at her a couple episodes ago for like he's like, you sleep the whole night, I'll take both watches. And she's like,
Mhm,
no, you fell asleep. I got up, I did all the watch stuff you told me to do. It's like he has done such a good job
yeah,
of teaching her to survive. And
yeah,
she also, but we got that moment last week where she was like, I can't do this without you. She recognizes, like, yeah, she can hold her own, but she's not trying to be the tough kid anymore.
yeah,
She's like, no, I need your help.
and she's deathly afraid of being alone too.
Yeah, she is. She absolutely is. And that's why last week's episode with learning about um Riley was
Mhm.
so pertinent. It really shows how much time she's really had to spend alone.
Now, fun side note that I didn't know until watching the behind the scenes stuff is the guy who plays like pretty much the sidekick to David is the original voice of Joel from the video game.
That's really cool because
Yeah.
the guy who was
Voice Tommy.
who voiced Tommy was what's her name's number two, the guy that
Yeah.
got his head ripped off by
Yeah.
zombie.
So
um,
so these maybe the person who voices Ellie is gonna be a sidekick to someone and get their head ripped off too.
maybe I mean, well, because also the lady playing Marlene from the Fireflies
Yeah.
are in the game, so
Right, exactly.
I think there's a few others I remember reading somewhere because that's cool that they're letting them come back
Yeah.
to, to to be a part of this thing that essentially they started. So I wouldn't be shocked if we saw the actress who voiced Ellie at some point.
Now the question for you here, because I'm still thinking about this. They burned that place to the ground, pretty much.
Hmm.
Like that, even though we don't see it falling, it's gonna burn down.
It's done.
It's
Yeah.
done. The leader of their religious group, aka cult, is
Yeah.
gone. I'm sure they're gonna find those human bodies that are hanging like fucking meat.
Yeah.
Um, how is the rest of the town gonna go forward?
Oh, they're doomed.
Yeah.
That what those 15, 20 people that are there, they're doomed.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it out the winner, like at all. We probably won't see them again next episode. I did not watch any of the after episode stuff. I never do. But they're all going to die. They'll be dead in a week.
Yeah.
I know this bleak, but it's like, no, there's no version of this where they get out of this alive.
Because yeah, when you got the backstory of these people that they started out of Pittsburgh QZ, the Fireflies and the Fedra got into it. Pittsburgh QZ went down. They left. Everywhere they settled down, raiders would attack. So then they kept moving west. And as they were moving west, more people joined. And so I'm just like, this is a group of people that rely on this guy
Mm-hmm.
for food, for shelter, for a bunch of things. So I'm like, their world is completely changed too.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you right now, some of the folks who find out they've been eating people are going to kill themselves. They're going to do it. They will not be able to live with that, and
Yeah.
they're going to say I'm out, and then the people who are left are going to starve and
Yeah.
or freeze. I mean, like
I feel like if one person's gonna survive, it's that little girl.
the one whose
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah, the one that he slapped.
Yeah.
Because the look in her eyes
Yeah.
after he slapped her, I thought something was gonna happen with her character just because of the look that she gave after being slapped. Because it was kind of like the actress, the way that she, and maybe this is me like portraying of what I've watched on screen, was like, "Oh, I'm done with your bullshit." Like, kind of like, "Oh, I believed all of this stuff before."
Yeah.
But the second she got hit was, which then even too in my head, I'm like, what is it with these guys that like will harm you and then give you a helping hand like they didn't do anything wrong?
That's that cult leader,
Yeah.
abuser, power, like yeah, I'm the one who inflicted the pain, but I'm also the one taking the pain away. So
Yeah. When he gave that hand to her and the look in her eyes, I was like, oh, she's coming back for something.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's my hopefulness, is that I want her to survive.
Oh, sure.
Although she can't enact any revenge because, Ellie did it for her. But
It's true. But she
Yeah.
might still want vengeance against Joel for killing her dad.
True.
But I'd be shocked if anybody, and we'll probably never see this group again anyway.
True. Yeah, probably not.
If they do survive, we'll never know.
But that would be really interesting to see her down the road, and it's like these two girls, Ellie versus her, because she could come back to try to kill Joel. That would be so.
Sure, but I
It's
also
kind of like a Kill Bill, where the Vernita Green's daughter, how they
Yeah,
talked about maybe doing a Kill Bill Volume 3 where she's trying to go
gross.
back after Beatrice. And I was like, no, I'll leave the story where it is. Those two movies are great. But I was just like, oh, that could happen. And that would be interesting.
It would.
Fan fiction in my head.
It's, as I was gonna say, because when you look at the state of the world they're in, I'm like, how do you track somebody down
Yeah.
that you don't know? I don't know, because I don't even think she never saw him. She wouldn't know what he looks
Yeah.
like. I don't know. It's interesting, but with the way this show goes, it's just like, well, if you're not Joel or Ellie, you're dead. So yeah, man, what an adrenaline rush this episode was. Oof. What a dark, messed up adrenaline rush this was. Just all kinds of happiness happening over in my corner of the world.
So much Christian grace too. Just you're so hungry for vengeance, deliver it. I was like, oh, very Christian of you. Very, very Christian. Burial rites, they're really doing well with that too. Just overall, I even wrote in my notes, I was just like, if you would have forgiven Joel instead of trying to enact vengeance, maybe you wouldn't be dead. So maybe you should follow your book. And I was like, I am an asshole. Even in my own notes, I'm an asshole.
There was no way we're getting through this episode without it taking that turn. But
yeah.
Oh well. I'm sure we're not, considering this is based off of an already existing story. I'm sure we're not the first ones to have this thought.
Well, that's just me saying that they're not actually Christian. So
true. Yeah.
That's me saying that true Christians follow their book and aren't assholes. So I'm actually not being an asshole then.
Hey guys, if you don't believe in God, just don't be a dick. Just in case. Just in case. Just in case there is something, don't be a dick. It's simple. It's simple, because you could always be wrong. We could very much be wrong. We could just get there and just be like, oh, this is here. You saw I wasn't a dick, right? Yeah, no, come on in. It's cool. It's fine. It's all right. You weren't a dick. You weren't a dick. Don't be a dick, guys. Look, it's the number one lesson I learned from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Just don't be a dick. I like that movie, and I will not apologize for it. Anyway.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
I love that movie. I thought it was very good. Anyway. It's no Cocaine Bear, but I haven't seen Cocaine Bear yet. I'm dying to see it. Anyway, so that's what we're thinking. That's where we're at with. We got one episode left. Next week's it. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. I still don't know where we go from here.
That's why, like at the beginning too, I was like, "That says episode 8." They said one more episode. This is and I was like, "Yeah, it's a 9-episode season." Why is it 9, not 10? Come on,
I know.
Come on, HBO.
but again, it's like, what do we do now? Because I will say this about every episode, for the most part, they're very good at whatever started the episode is resolved at the end. Like there hasn't been a lot of overarching stuff for the most part.
Well, they still have to go to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I guess, but it's just like, but we got one episode. Then what?
if you got that reference, shout it out in the comments. If you got my reference.
Nope, nothing.
Matt Meg didn't, because he's not cool.
Apparently not. No, but still, but again, like, cool. We got to go to Salt Lake City. Oh, we got one episode left. What? Cool. So we get there. What do we do now? Like, they don't have a horse anymore.
Right.
What do we do now?
How are they going to travel? Yeah, because they went from like a car to then walking
to a horse.
And the walking took 3 months. That's why we had the 3-month skip. So they're back to walking. So are we going to have a time jump
for the last episode? Who knows? I mean, who knows? I can't wait to find out. We got one more week of this. Whew. What an episode. We want to know what you guys think, though, so make sure you let us know down in the comments. Did you love this one? Did you hate this one? What do we do now? What do you think human meat tastes like? I'm not particularly sure, but I'm pretty sure I'd eat it mid-rare. Talk to us again next time
Apparently
we're live for
venison.
the finale. Apparently, but I mean, who the hell knows? At that point, food's food. Subscribe, and we'll see you guys again here next time on Off the Wall. Bye. I'm sure it tastes like chicken, like everything else.